This morning, April 23rd, 2026, something happened at Incheon International Airport that on the surface looked like a routine celebrity departure. A man walked through the terminal, waved at the army fans who had been waiting since before dawn, and disappeared through the gate. But for millions of people around the world, that moment was not simply an artist leaving for a tour. It was a journey that had been waiting nearly 4 years to happen. That man was Jimin. And America, today, is not just the next dot on a tour map. America is the next chapter of a story that started long before the world ever knew his name. Before we talk about what happened this morning, we need to talk about why this departure is different from every single tour that came before it. Because if you're looking at this as just Jimin going to America for concerts, you are missing the entire picture. And that is exactly what we're going to unpack today, all the way down to the roots. Let's go back. December 2023. Jimin walked away from his life as one of the most recognized artists on the planet and stepped into the Army 5th Division Recruit Training Center in Yongkyeon, South Korea. No glamour cameras, no stadium stages, no fans screaming his name from stadium floors, just military uniforms, rigid discipline, and a life completely unlike anything he had known. Mandatory military service in South Korea is not optional, not even for the biggest names in entertainment. All 7 members of BTS fulfilled this obligation, one by one. Jimin and Jungkook enlisted together under the buddy system, going through it side by side. But here's what the world needs to understand about what happened while Jimin was serving. His career did not pause. The world did not pause. His second solo album, Muse, was released on July 19, 2024, while he was still in active duty. And that album was not a quiet release by any definition. The lead single, who debuted at #1 on the Billboard Global 200. Think about that. A man in military service, unable to attend award shows, unable to promote on stages, unable to give interviews, and his music still climbed to the top of global charts. That is not just a number. That is a declaration. That is proof that Jimin's power as an artist had grown far beyond his physical presence. And before Muse, there was Face, his debut solo album, released in March 2023, just before his enlistment, rewrote the history books in ways that still feel impossible to fully absorb. Like Crazy became the very first song by a Korean solo artist to debut at #1 on the US Billboard Hot 100. Not just chart high, debut at #1. Jimin became the first Korean solo artist to top the Billboard Artist 100. Face became the first K-pop solo album to surpass 1 billion streams on Spotify. Every single one of those records wasn't only about Jimin. Every one of them cracked a ceiling that had been assumed to be unbreakable and created a wider door for every Asian artist who came after him. Then June 2025 arrived. Jimin stepped out of military service in Yongkyeon, standing beside Jungkook, smiling in a way that army around the world had held their breath waiting to see. But Jimin did not walk out the same person who walked in. During basic training, he completed every requirement at the highest level, earning a commendation as the outstanding trainee from his division commander and taking the oath as the representative of all trainees in his unit. In June 2024, he received an early promotion and was selected as a special class warrior based on his exceptional military performance. This is not a detail to gloss over. This tells you something profound about who Jimin is. That in any environment, under any pressure, his instinct is to give everything he has and then give a little more. When all 7 BTS members had finally completed their service, with Suga being the last discharged in June 2025, the world was not just ready. The world was desperate. BTS announced the Arirang World Tour in January 2026, and what followed was one of the most extraordinary moments in modern music industry history. All 41 initial tour dates sold out within hours. Not days, hours. 3 additional dates were later added in select cities, and they sold out at the exact same speed. The city of Tampa, Florida had to close an entire roadway in front of Raymond James Stadium just to accommodate the massive BTS merchandise tent that needed to be set up. The city itself announced that they would light up in purple to welcome BTS, with the airport included, because the level of army energy descending on Tampa simply demanded it. But why does America carry such specific weight for Jimin? This is not just about ticket numbers or chart positions. America is where Like Crazy first exploded to the top of the Billboard Hot 100 in 2023. America is the market that for years was treated as the ceiling that Korean artists could not break through cleanly or permanently. When Jimin stood at number 1 in that market, there were voices that questioned it, that looked for reasons to dismiss it. But week after week, the facts answered for themselves. And when Who from Muse again dominated global charts without any traditional promotional support, the conversation shifted entirely. Jimin was no longer being positioned as a K-pop artist making noise in the American market. He was simply an artist, one of the most impactful ones in the world, regardless of where he was born or what language he sang in. This morning's departure from Incheon alongside Jin carries layers that go far beyond logistics. This is not the first time Jimin has flown to America, but this is the first time he is flying to America as part of a full 7-member BTS world tour after nearly 4 years of absence, after military service, after everything he endured and everything he proved even while the world could not physically see him on a stage. Every step he took through that departure terminal this morning carried the weight of all of those years. Not a weight that burdened him, but a weight that has forged him into something stronger and more certain of his purpose than ever before. The album Arirang is not simply a collection of songs. The name itself is taken from Korea's most ancient and deeply rooted folk song, a melody about departure and longing, about someone leaving and someone waiting. But in BTS's hands, Arirang is not only about leaving, it is about returning, about finding your way back to the place and the people that matter most. When BTS chose that name for their comeback album, and when Jimin stood at Tokyo Dome 2 weeks ago reading a handwritten letter to Japanese army, telling them in Japanese that he would continue to give them more and more beautiful stages, that was not idle talk. That was a promise from an artist who has paid the price for distance and who understands, deeply and personally, what it means to finally come back. Tampa, Florida, April 25th, 26th, and 28th, Raymond James Stadium. 3 nights. This is BTS's first concert performance in the United States in nearly 4 years. For American Army, who fought for tickets, who paid resale prices far above face value, who have been counting down since the announcement dropped in January 2026, this is not simply a show. It is a reunion. It is the physical proof that BTS did not leave permanently, that all 7 of them came back, whole and together, and that the promise they made to their fans before enlisting, that they would return and they would make it worth the wait, is being fulfilled in real time. Jimin has spoken before about what it means to return to Army on stage, about how every moment away becomes energy that you carry back with you. That longing does not disappear when you return. It becomes fuel. It becomes the force behind every dance move, every vocal note, every moment of eye contact with the crowd. And the Army who will be standing in Tampa will not simply be watching a performance. They will be feeling all of that energy directly. The energy of an artist who understands the value of this moment because he lived through the time when he did not have it. There is one more thing that needs to be said about Jimin's journey to America today. This is not only about him as an individual. This is about every Korean artist, every Asian creator, every person who was ever told that there was a glass ceiling above them that could not be broken. That there was an invisible line separating Asian artists from equal recognition on the global stage. Every record Jimin broke on Billboard, every sold-out stadium in America, every moment that Army in countries that barely knew what K-pop was are now singing Korean lyrics at the top of their lungs. These are real, measurable changes. And Jimin, quietly and consistently, is one of the people most responsible for making them happen. The Arirang World Tour is not simply the largest K-pop tour in history. It is a moment of reckoning. It is the accumulation of everything BTS, everything Jimin, has worked toward for more than a decade. Not for chart positions or streaming records alone, but for something larger. For the right to stand on any stage in any country in the world and be received not as a novelty, not as a curiosity from somewhere far away, but as artists of the highest caliber, full stop. So when Jimin stepped out of Incheon International Airport this morning alongside Jin, heading toward America, he was not simply departing for a tour. He was taking the next step in a journey that has never truly stopped. A journey that began in a small city in Busan, that continued through a training room in Seoul where a teacher told a young boy with a gift that he should try an audition. That continued through years of training, debut, global recognition, personal loss, public pressure, solo stardom, military service, and everything in between. And now, more than a decade and a half later, he is on a plane flying toward a continent where his name is known not because someone told people to pay attention, but because his art earned every single bit of that attention on its own. And there is a dimension to this story that deserves its own spotlight because it speaks directly to what Jimin represents as a performer at this level. During the Tokyo Dome shows on April 17th and 18th, a controversy erupted in the ARMY community that spread far beyond fandom spaces and into broader conversations about how artists are treated by the institutions that are supposed to support them. Fans watching the live stream at cinema theaters around the world noticed something that was impossible to ignore. The camera operators consistently missed Jimin during his solo moments, shifting focus to other members precisely when he was in the center, precisely when his voice was carrying the stage, precisely when his choreography demanded to be seen. The response from ARMY was immediate and loud. Hashtags demanding that the production team show Jimin properly during his parts trended globally. The frustration was not simply about camera angles. It was about a pattern that fans felt they had been watching since the very first Going shows. For a man whose live performances are widely regarded as among the most technically demanding and emotionally layered in the entire genre, being consistently missed by the camera felt like a deliberate erasure of something that could not be erased on the ground level. Every ARMY in that stadium in Tokyo could see exactly what the cameras were failing to capture. And when American ARMY, who have followed Jimin's journey from Like Crazy to Muse to the Arirang comeback, arrive at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, they are not just coming to witness a concert. They are coming with full awareness of everything he brings to a stage and a fully formed intention to be present for every single second of it. There is something else worth understanding about Jimin's specific connection to the American fanbase that goes beyond chart statistics. Earlier this month, just before the Goyang shows opened the tour, Jimin posted on Weverse expressing his nerves about the album release in a way that felt completely unguarded. He wrote that he was so nervous he did not know what to do, but that he hoped fans would listen happily and that he would show them a great side. That level of vulnerability, that willingness to let the world see him uncertain and human before one of the biggest moments of his career, is something that resonates particularly deeply with American ARMY. In a music industry culture that often prizes projecting unshakable confidence, Jimin consistently chooses honesty instead. He has never tried to make himself appear invincible. And in doing so, he has built a connection with his audience that is not built on spectacle alone, but on something far more lasting, which is trust. What America is about to witness at Raymond James Stadium is not the same Jimin who last stood on an American stage years ago. The Goyang and Tokyo legs of the Arirang World Tour have already shown the world exactly what the intervening years have built. At Goyang Stadium on April 11th, reviewers and fans described a performer who had arrived at a completely different level of command. From the moment he appeared singing Fake Love with his hair flying in the wind, Jimin immediately changed the air on the stage, completing stable live performances with strong choreography and powerful vocals, even under intense physical exertion. At the final Goyang show on April 12th, he filled a vast 360-degree stage with free dance in sections where there was no choreography and delivered unshakable vocals, even when his breathing was rough from intense movement that spared nothing. The hashtags that trended for 3 consecutive days after those Goyang performances, celebrating his stage presence, his effort, and his every moment, were not manufactured. They were the organic response of tens of thousands of people who witnessed something extraordinary happening in real time. Then Tokyo arrived and took everything a level higher. At the Tokyo Dome, Jimin earned praise described as taking Spotify out of his throat for his voice at Goyang, and during Fire in Tokyo, even in moments of heavy breathing amidst vigorous movements, he filled the entire dome with explosive high notes. During the Japanese track Crystal Snow, performed as part of the impromptu stage order, he delivered vocals described as having a stardust tone, receiving enthusiastic cheers and prompting social media responses including "This is a youth movie" and heavenly vocals, with silky voiced Jimin trending in real time globally. And what Jimin said to the crowd at Goyang on that second night matters deeply as context for everything that follows on this tour. Standing on the stage, he told the audience, "It's been a long time since we've held a concert like this. Along with the album, we've tried a lot of new things. We worked really hard on it, so I hope you enjoy it. Those are not the words of someone going through the motions of a world tour. Those are the words of someone who spent years away from the thing he loves most and came back with something to say. At the close of the Goyang run, he told ARMY, "I will do my best to become a better person after learning and studying hard. Thank you so much and I love you so much." Simple words. But from Jimin, after everything, they carry the full weight of everything that came before them. American ARMY have been watching all of this from across the ocean, absorbing every clip, every fan cam, every moment from Goyang and Tokyo that managed to reach them. They have been building towards Saturday night in Tampa for months. And now, the man behind every one of those moments is on a plane headed directly toward them. Students at the University of South Florida, many of whom have been ARMY since they were in elementary school, spoke about what this Tampa concert means to them in terms that go well beyond fandom enthusiasm. One fan, who has been following BTS since 2017, described the group's diversity of sound, their willingness to stay true to themselves while experimenting across rap, R&B, and contemporary styles, as the core of why this reunion feels so significant. Another fan admitted she almost did not attend because the tickets felt too expensive until her parents made the decision for her. That story, repeated in thousands of variations across ARMY communities throughout America, is the story of a fandom that never stopped believing in something, even when believing in it cost something real. Jimin is on a plane right now, somewhere between Korea and the United States. And while that plane is in the air, thousands of people who have loved his music, carried his songs through their own difficult years, watched from a distance while he was in service, are already outside Raymond James Stadium buying merchandise, wearing purple and counting the hours. The distance between where he is right now and where he is going has never felt shorter. And the gap between those two places, between the quiet departure gate at Incheon this morning and the roar of an American stadium on Saturday night, is about to close completely. ARMY in Tampa, across America, and around the world watching from a distance, get ready. Because Jimin is on his way. And when he finally steps onto that stage, when the lights hit his face and his voice fills every corner of that stadium, every single person in that building is going to feel the same thing. That this is not just a concert. This is the fulfillment of a promise. This is proof that distances can be closed, that absences can be healed, and that some things in this world are genuinely, completely worth the wait.